Hello everyone, Ron and David here, coming to you from our website, astrologynewsreport.com.
Now we look at the upcoming planetary patterns and predictions, what's in store in the heavens for April 13th to April 20th and beyond.
And there's a lot going on this week.
Yes, let's see if we can make sense of it all.
Well, first off, Mercury will be exactly conjunct Uranus on Monday, April 14th at 19 degrees Pisces. The planet of rational thinking, reasons, and explanations combines with the planet of freedom, rebellion, disruption, and sudden change. All this is happening in the sign Pisces, the sensitive, irrational water sign of faith, hope, and emotional support.
Mercury and Uranus combinations produce excitement, radical thinking, jumping to conclusions, and sometimes inspiration. Mercury is the planet of information and the media, so there'll be plenty of disturbing news stories to stimulate the jaded mental appetites of the masses.
And note, too, that Mars is opposite the Mercury-Uranus conjunction, and on Monday, the Moon will be joining Mars, making it a four-planet opposition and increasing the potential for events.
Wow, as if we haven't already had plenty.
Yes.
Sounds like a setup for even more alarming news. Panic and hysteria!
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. There is a full moon, which will be a total lunar eclipse on Tuesday, April 15th at 1 degree Libra. This eclipse will be visible in the Western Hemisphere around 3 a.m. on the east coast of the USA.
There's a lot of internet scuttlebutt about this being the first of a tetrad, a series of 4 total lunar eclipses, 4 blood moons in a row.
Yes, that's true. Although there are normally 2 lunar eclipses per year, it's rather unusual for there to be a sequence of total lunar eclipses. The 4 so-called blood moons, the name comes from the color of the lunar eclipse, will occur in roughly 6-month intervals on the following dates: April 15th, 2014, October 8th, 2014, April 4th, 2015, and September 28th, 2015.
Eclipses signify forthcoming changes. The ancients considered them to be bad omens. The moon gets gobbled up by some invisible thing, obviously a demon, which in Vedic mythology came to be known as the dragon Rahu. So does this mean we are in store for a period of major change?
The events associated with an eclipse don't usually happen on the day of the eclipse, but rather afterwards, when another planet, especially a natural malefic planet, interacts with the eclipse point. On July 15th through 17th, Mars will transit through 1 degree Libra, the eclipse point.
So we should mark that date on our calendars and expect something to go down in mid-July. What about in people's personal charts?
Usually an eclipse is not an issue unless you have a natal planet located at the eclipse point, 1 degree Libra in this case. If you do have a planet in your chart conjunct the eclipse, the significations of that planet are likely to suffer some dramatic change in the near future.
Uh-oh, my Jupiter will be under the gun.
All right, well, we'll be checking back with you to see what happens. On Sunday, April 20th, Mercury will leave Pisces and enter Aries. The planet of rational thinking will be happier when not weakened by being in an emotion-based water sign, but will now have to manifest through the fast-moving, impulsive, self-centered Mars sign, Aries.
Note that as soon as Mercury enters Aries, it will form a Parivatana yoga with Mars, which is still transiting in Mercury's sign, Virgo, and still retrograde as well.
Although once it moves out of Pisces, Mercury is no longer receiving the direct aspect of Mars, it is still going to be wedded to Mars via this powerful yoga.
And returning to our ongoing coverage of the celestial event known as the retrograde Mars-Uranus opposition, we see that by next Sunday, April 20th, the 2 planets will be less than 1 degree from exact opposition. So things are going to get more heated up this week.
Another feature of the Mars-Uranus opposition is that this is now forming part of a larger planetary pattern called the Grand Square, or Grand Cross. This happens when there are two sets of opposing planets which are mutually square to each other. In this case, the second pair is composed of the Jupiter-Pluto opposition.
All four planets, Mars, Pluto, Uranus, and Jupiter, will be at 19 degrees of their respective signs from April 21st to April 24th. But due to the slow movement of the participants, this pattern will be within 1 degree of exact and therefore quite capable of producing events for over a week's time from April 18th to April 27th.
This is a rather rare pattern in the heavens, and even more rarely does it exist for an extended period of time, since in most cases one of the participants will be a faster moving planet like the Sun, Moon, Mercury, or Venus. This time, the fastest moving factor is Mars, which, due to being retrograde, is moving even more slowly than usual.
So what are the effects of the grand square, grand cross configuration?
Well, generally, it is a very tense, stressful combination. The square aspect by itself is a challenging and destabilizing aspect, but with the grand square, there are 4 separate squares functioning simultaneously, which theoretically could bring a sort of stalemate or uneasy equilibrium.
But since the 4 planets are not equally strong, stability is short-lived. In this case, 2 of the participants, Uranus and Pluto, are known for large-scale dramatic events, so this setup looks pretty ominous.
Yes, something could happen that will get everyone's attention.
Gee, wonder what that could be. I nominate the tense standoff in Ukraine. World War III, anyone?
Yeah, good example there, David. Certainly the Ukraine situation is a likely candidate.
How about in a personal chart? How will this planetary pattern affect ordinary people?
Generally, there's not much to worry about, unless you have an important natal planet at 19 degrees in Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, or Sagittarius. And if that is your case, I would suggest being especially careful during this month of April. The likelihood of some sort of crises would be kind of high.
And then there's always circumstantial karma. The larger forces could be making the call no matter what your chart says.
Yeah, it's always possible to get caught up in a collective karmic moment.
Thanks for visiting astrologynewsreport.com. Now on to segment 3 of this week's show.